My wife's family said I am too soft to stop them while moving into my house. They laughed and said, "You better pack up because we are here." I did leave. 72 hours later, their phones wouldn't stop ringing. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here I am. It all began 3 months ago when my wife Amelia lost her job. We had been married for 5 years and lived in our small 3-bedroom house that I bought before we met. At first, everything was fine. We had some savings, and I earned enough money to pay our bills while she searched for work. Then her mom, Ellie, called to visit for the weekend, saying she wanted to help Amelia during this tough time. I should have noticed something was off when she arrived with 4 suitcases. The first warning sign was so small I almost missed it. When I got home from work, I found that Ellie had changed our living room, saying it was more practical now, with a smile that didn't quite seem real. Amelia looked happy, so I didn't say anything. Within a week, Ellie took over the kitchen. My protein shakes were replaced with her healthy supplements, and my meal prep containers were gone to make space for her huge collection of herbs and spices. She would say, "You'll thank me later." Oh, as she patted my cheek like I was a kid. Then, Amelia's brother, Anthony, surprised us by showing up one Tuesday night with a duffel bag. He claimed his apartment had flooding problems and needed a place to stay for a few days. He quickly made himself at home on our couch, but I noticed he didn't say when he would leave. After that, things changed a lot. Every family dinner turned into a meeting about how to get back on their feet. I would walk into rooms and conversations would stop suddenly. I started spending more time with them, and they would whisper and give me weird looks when they thought I wasn't looking. 2 weeks later, I came home to find Mia, Amelia's sister who had just divorced, sitting at our dining table with piles of paperwork. "Mum thought it would be better if we all stayed together during these tough times," she said without even looking up. Her 3-year-old was already sleeping in our spare room. That night, I tried to talk to Amelia. "This is getting out of hand," I said. She just looked at me with a disappointed face I had never seen before. "Their family needs us, Ethan. Why are you being so selfish?" The breaking point came last Thursday. I was working from home when I heard furniture being moved outside. I looked out the window and saw a moving truck. Anthony and some guys were unloading what looked like a whole house worth of furniture. My heart stopped when I saw Ellie directing everything like a conductor. I rushed outside, still in my work clothes. "What's happening here?" I demanded. Ellie turned to me with that same annoying smile. "Oh, sweetheart, we're moving in properly. The rental house was too expensive for everyone." "This is my house," I said, my voice shaking. "You can't just—" That's when Amelia's uncle, Jeremiah, got out of his car, holding legal papers. "Actually," he said with a smug look, "we've been talking about some changes to the living arrangements. Amelia thinks it would be better if the house was in both your names for security." They all surrounded me, these people who had slowly taken over my life. "He's too weak to stop us," Ellie told Jeremiah loudly enough for me to hear. "Just watch him run away." Anthony laughed as he pushed past me with a box. I looked at Amelia, who stood there with her family, not looking at me. After 5 years of marriage, I suddenly felt like I was looking at a stranger. I walked back inside, past the boxes piling up in the hallway, past the family photos that were already being replaced, and went straight to my office. They probably thought I was hiding and running away, but they didn't know about the cameras I had put in 2 weeks ago when things started feeling strange. They didn't know I recorded their secret meetings. They had no idea I was keeping track of everything since Ellie first came. That afternoon, I made 3 phone calls, packed a bag, grabbed important documents from the safe, and left through the front door. As I got into my car, I could hear them laughing inside my house. "My house," I heard Anthony say. "I told you he'd run." They had no idea what was coming. Update. Thank you all for the support on my last post. A lot has happened in the last 48 hours, and I need to share it. After leaving my house that day, I checked into a nearby hotel and started looking at the footage from my security cameras. What I found chilled me. The first video showed Ellie and Jeremiah in my office at night, going through my files. "His grandfather left him this house without a mortgage," Jeremiah was saying. "The money from it could support us for years." Ellie chillingly replied, "Amelia says he's been thinking about adding her to the deed. We just need to hurry that up." Another clip showed Anthony and Mia in the kitchen. "Mom has done this before," Mia said. "Remember Cousin David's place? 6 months, and his wife signed everything over just to get rid of them." They laughed like it was funny, but the worst part was seeing Amelia, My wife, the woman I loved for 5 years, sitting with her mom, planning how to pressure me into giving up the house. He's too nice, Amelia said. He'd do anything to make me happy. We just need to push harder. That night, I made calls and sent emails. By morning, I had meetings set with 3 different lawyers. The first one looked at my evidence and started taking notes right away. This isn't their first time, she said. Your in-laws have a pattern. They've done this to at least 2 other families. They target people with valuable properties, move in, and force them out through mind games. She showed me documents from a case 3 years ago about a man named David, the same cousin they mentioned, who lost his house to them using similar tricks. They had moved in, overwhelmed him, and pressured his wife into divorce. The house was sold, and they took the money. While I was thinking about this, my phone started blowing up. Amelia found out I took half of our joint savings, money I earned before we got married. The messages were desperate and threatening. Please come home, baby. We can talk about this. Mom says you're being ridiculous. If you don't come back, we'll call the police. You're breaking my heart. Then came the voicemails from Ellie. You're making a big mistake. Ethan, Jeremiah says leaving is grounds for divorce in our state. Think carefully about your next move. They didn't know I was already 10 steps ahead. I had proof of every penny I spent on that house, showing it was bought before marriage, records from my grandfather, and thanks to their carelessness, video proof of their whole scheme. The next surprise came from my neighbor. She sent me footage from her doorbell camera showing Anthony and some friends moving what looked like my computer gear into their van. At 3 a.m. I immediately filed a police report. Then I got a text from an unknown number. It was David, the cousin they scammed. I heard they're at it again, he wrote. I have everything documented from what they did to me. Let me know if you need it. Yesterday morning, I received an email from Jeremiah, a draft of divorce papers that would give Amelia half of everything, including my grandfather's house. They really thought I would just accept this. What happened next felt surreal. I was in my hotel room, going over documents with my lawyer when the hotel front desk called. Amelia was in the lobby, demanding to know my room number. They had already turned her away twice. I watched on the hotel security feed as she stood there crying, telling everyone about her unstable husband who had left her. And her poor family, the same woman. I had seen on camera plotting to take everything from me. The desk clerk, bless her, simply said, "Ma'am, if you don't leave, we'll have to call security." Amelia left, but not before yelling that I would regret this. She had no idea what was coming. While she was making a scene in the lobby, my lawyer was filing papers with the court. Lots of papers. Tomorrow morning, several people will get very official documents. I've been told not to say much right now, but let's just say Ellie's happy smile won't last much longer. Update 2. I'll start with what happened this morning. At exactly 9 a.m., 5 different process servers showed up at my house. Each had different papers to give. The security cameras caught everything. Ellie opened the door first, coffee cup in hand, still in her robe. Her face fell when the first server asked if she was Ellie, last name. By the time the 5th one arrived, she was almost screaming for Jeremiah. Here's what they received: an emergency eviction notice, cease and desist orders, a restraining order against Anthony for stealing my computer, intent to sue for harassment and attempted theft, and divorce papers for Amelia. But let me explain how we got here. Remember David, the cousin they scammed before? He had been collecting evidence against them for years. 3 days ago, he drove 6 hours to meet me and my lawyer, bringing boxes of documents showing their pattern. The similarities were eerie. They had done this to 4 other families, not just 2 like we first thought. They always played the same way. Target someone with a valuable property, move in, slowly isolate them, then pressure them until they break. David's paperwork included bank records, showing how they took money from earlier properties, emails about their plans, and even recordings of Ellie bragging about their successes at family gatherings. They almost got my kids, David told me, shaking as he showed me photos of his old house. My wife chose them over me. Don't let them win again. The real breakthrough came when we found out Jeremiah was involved deeper than just being their lawyer. He had been taking cuts from every property they scammed, hiding the money through fake companies. Yesterday, while they thought I was hiding in my hotel, I was actually meeting with investigators. It turns out the authorities had been building a case against them for months. They just needed someone to come forward with solid proof. The cameras in my house caught everything. Ellie going through my mail, Anthony stealing my stuff, Mia forging my signature, not very well I might add, every conversation about taking my house, every scheme they discussed, all recorded in high definition. But the most shocking evidence came from Amelia herself. 2 nights ago, she sent me a long email thinking it would help her. Instead, she accidentally confessed to the entire plan. "You should have just added me to the deed like we discussed. Mom knows what she's doing. She's helped many family members secure their futures this way. If you just cooperated, everyone would be happy. It's not like you need such a big house anyway." I quickly forwarded that email to my lawyer. This morning, while the servers were doing their job, I was meeting with the bank. Amelia had tried to open new credit cards in my name. The fraud department caught it and froze everything. The security cameras showed their reactions to the papers. Ellie ripping them up. Not smart. We have copies, Anthony throwing things, Mia crying on the phone and Jeremiah pacing, looking genuinely worried for the first time. Then came the calls. First Amelia crying. "How could you do this to your family?" I let it go to voicemail. Next was Ellie. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Actually, I do. Jeremiah's call was different. No threats. Just a quiet, "Let's talk about this. We might be able to settle this privately." Too late for that. The last message was from Anthony. "You think some papers will scare us? We've dealt with worse." That's when I sent them the final notice. They have 72 hours to leave my property. After that, the sheriff will get involved. I also included some clips from my security cameras, so they see exactly what evidence I have. An hour ago, my neighbor texted me that moving trucks just showed up. They're packing like crazy. I'm still at my hotel, watching all of this on the cameras. Ellie is directing the chaos, but her hands are shaking. Jeremiah keeps checking his phone, looking nervous. Amelia sits on my couch, staring into space. They thought I was weak. They thought I would run. Instead, I spent 3 days building a strong case against them. Now they're the ones running, but it's not over yet. Tomorrow morning, I have another meeting with federal investigators. Apparently, some of their past property deals cross state lines. Final update. It's been 2 months since my last update. I waited to post this because I wanted to see everything through to the end. What happened was even more than I expected. The day after my last post, the federal investigators I mentioned started their operation. They had been building a case against my in-laws for years, and my evidence was the final piece they needed. That morning, Ellie woke up to federal agents at her door. They had search warrants for every property she owned, all 6 of them, bought with money from past scams. At the same time, other agents were knocking on Jeremiah's door. The look on their faces when they realized what was happening was priceless. My security cameras caught Ellie trying to flush documents down the toilet while agents waited in her living room. Amateur move. Remember those fake companies Jeremiah used? Each one led to another victim. In total, they had scammed 12 families. Over 8 years, not just the 4 we knew about. Each case followed the same pattern. Move in, isolate, pressure, take over. They got better at it with every new target. Anthony tried to run when he saw the agents. He made it 3 blocks before they caught him right next to the storage unit, where he had hidden my stolen equipment. Not the smartest choice, storing stolen things under his own name. Mia broke first. Faced with losing her kid, she told them everything. How they picked their targets, how they manipulated people, how they laundered the money. She even revealed scams we didn't know about. But the biggest surprise was Amelia. When investigators showed her the proof, including recordings of her plotting with her family, she didn't cry or apologize. Instead, she smiled and said, "You really think this will stick? We're smarter than you think." That smile didn't last long. The investigators had their own surprise. David wasn't the only previous victim who came forward. 5 other families arrived at the courthouse that week, each with their own proof, years of evidence, all pointing to the same group of people. Things moved quickly after that. Jeremiah was disbarred right away. His involvement in several fraud cases caught the attention of the authorities. Last I heard, he could face 15 to 20 years in prison. Ellie's carefully built house of cards fell apart. All 6 properties were seized, and the money she had hidden in offshore accounts was frozen. Her social circle disappeared once people realized they might be investigated too. Anthony's theft of my equipment became the least of his problems when investigators found his laptop. It turned out he had kept detailed records of every scam, thinking he was being clever. Those records implicated everyone, including family members we didn't even know were involved. Mia got a lighter sentence for cooperating, but she lost custody. Her ex-husband now has full custody of their child. Karma is interesting that way. The investigators found a storage unit rented under Amelia's name. Inside was everything they had taken from their previous victims. Family heirlooms, documents, jewelry. They kept them as trophies. This discovery changed the whole investigation. Amelia didn't do well in court. The judge was especially interested in her emails about their plans. The divorce was finalized last week. She got nothing. The prenup I insisted on held up perfectly, especially after her documented attempt to cheat me. The payments to previous victims have started. Every property, every account, every asset they had gained through their scams is being sold off. David and the others will finally get justice. My house is being completely renovated. The cleaning crew found hidden cameras they had set up to spy on me. They even started making copies of my keys. The level of betrayal still hits me sometimes. Last week I got a letter from Amelia at her new temporary place. She wrote that she never loved me and that I was just another person chosen because I had a valuable property and seemed easy to control. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the letter to the investigators. It's now evidence item number 247. Yesterday, I saw a news article about their case. They're calling it one of the largest family-based fraud schemes in the state's history. Ellie's face made the front page, looking a lot less smug in an orange jumpsuit. I'm back in my house now. The family photos are mine again. The furniture is arranged the way I like it. The security system is top-notch. And that prenup I mentioned? It had a special clause about attempted fraud. My lawyer says Amelia will be paying my legal fees for a long time. Sometimes I think about that day they laughed at me, calling me weak as I walked away. I wonder if they're still laughing now. To everyone who supported me through this, thank you. And to Ellie, if you ever read this from the prison library, who's weak now? If you enjoyed this Reddit story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey.